Previously on Podcast Without Pretense. Where the fuck are you going to be, Iyaz?
I've been vying for a guest spot on Night Attack for weeks, and I really think it's going to go through. I hope somebody doesn't steal it out from under me.
You know how prophetic you were, Eric, because here's Eric Sandine, and I am Jonathan Strickland, and you may remember that we typically have a third host on this show, Iyaz Akhtar, but he has shown his true colors. He has abandoned his fellow brothers on the wall. He has joined the White Walkers. He's currently guesting on Night Attack over at the Diamond Club. So he's currently getting lots of less than, greater than signs from the various people of the Diamond Club. You know, we already acknowledge that there are perhaps 5 or 6 more people in the Diamond Club than are currently subscribers to our little show, but you don't have to rub it in our faces.
It's true, especially at the same time. Come on, Iyaz.
Now,
Eric, he should have just pre-recorded his segments. You could do that, right?
That's true. Yeah, well, here we go. We'll just pretend like Iyaz is here. So anytime we say anything fun, just pretend that he has dismissed it out of hand. So, Eric, for you, I have a modest proposal. Something that I think will help us get through these trying times of Iyaz going on another show, a much more popular show with better looking hosts. And I think this could help us get through this. And my proposal is this. We pick a movie, terrible movie. That's something we do on the show, by the way, folks. If you've never listened before, we often will pick a terrible film, usually on Netflix or Amazon or something that we can easily get access to. And then we'll test ourselves to see how far we can get into said terrible film with no distractions before we end up either giving up or we continue watching, but we watch with distractions. We just make a note of how far into the movie we got. And then occasionally we'll take notes and talk about it.
I hope I know where you're going with this, which is a 2.5 hour long podcast without pretense where we do nothing but sit here and watch a movie.
No, that was not what I was going to propose. What I was going to propose, right. Eric, what I was going to propose is that you and I pick a horrible movie, tell Iyaz that's the one that we've picked for next week, don't watch it, and let him be the only one to watch it. Because here's the secret about Iyaz, folks. He doesn't listen to our show, the show that he is on. He didn't listen back when he was the one publishing it.
I don't think that's such a secret. Do you listen to the show, Jonathan?
I have in the past listened to the show when I couldn't remember how many horrible things I had said in a particular episode. But I mean, here's the thing. Iyaz was publishing the show, right? Theoretically, when you publish a show, you listen to it at least once just to make sure there's nothing like awful, like some sort of terrible audio artifact or something that pops up that would have otherwise made it unlistenable to the average person. Iyaz, showing the true professionalism he possesses, did not do that for any of our episodes. I don't really blame him, because if I were the one recording it, I'd be doing the exact same thing that he's doing. However, I feel justified in punishing him now because he won't be listening to this one. Now, this, of course, is assuming that our devoted listeners, the ones who will be hearing this after Night Attack is over and they've downloaded this episode, or they forgot that it was in their feed and it just shows up one day. That's assuming they do not let Iyaz know what we are planning ahead of time. So if you want this to be a fun prank on Iyaz, or at least a prank, fun or otherwise, don't let him know. So, Eric, I was thinking something in the Pauly Shore milieu.
Oh, are there any on? That's fantastic. Maybe.
I don't think there are any. Well, there may be, but I haven't actually looked. But I do think we should pick a terrible, terrible movie, say that that's the one we're going to watch, and then not do it. To be fair, just so in case people are curious, we did not pick a movie for this week. We forgot to do that last week during the show. We had suffered through Leprechaun, and I don't think any of us had the wherewithal to suggest a follow-up. At least I didn't.
Oh wow. Okay, so there is actually a subreddit for worst of Netflix.
Oh, awesome.
Well, I
See if you
just
can
found
find.
our source.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that might be more reliable than typically what we do is we go on Netflix and we look at how Netflix has predicted we will react to certain movies, and we go for the ones that have the lowest number of stars. There is a problem whenever Eric does this. It's possible that the universe implodes because he likes the worst shit in the world.
Hey, I blame the algorithm. That's all I
Oh,
got really for that.
fair enough. Well, things looks like Night Attack is going very well. We will occasionally be checking in on Night Attack and seeing how things are going. Right now, I'm seeing Justin Robert Young doing a little doot de doot de doo type dance, as he is wont to do. By the way, Brian Brushwood and Justin Robert Young, both amazing people. I am jokingly grousing about this, but
They're great guys. Yeah.
yeah, they are really good guys. Brian, I met Brian Brushwood at CES a few years ago for the first time. Had never met him before. Within the course of meeting him that evening, he found out that I was thinking about going to South by Southwest and offered me a room in his house to stay in.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah, and that says something. And he made good on it. I was like, I even gave him an out when I asked him. I said, okay, you mentioned the possibility of me crashing at your place. You totally don't have to fulfill this if you don't want to. But he's like, no, come on over. So I got to go, and Justin Robert Young stayed there as well. So did Patrick Delahanty. There was a ton of us all in that house. It was really a fun time. It was like kind of like a just a giant geek sleepover filled with various uh, folks of podcasts and podcast communities, which was fun. And I got to run into a lot of other folks that at that South by Southwest. Like that's when Tom Merritt was still at Twit, and so I ran into him, and Molly Wood and Brian Tong were there for CNET, and so I ran into them, and it was just a really good trip overall. So
Man,
fond
speaking
memories,
of
fond
Tom,
memories. Yeah,
he was famous this week. Did you see
yeah,
the
Tom
article
Merritt. I
about
did.
the crowdfunding for his podcast? It's
Yeah,
insane.
a Los Angeles uh, a Los Angeles news source picked up the story. Tom Merritt uses Patreon to fund his daily tech news show, and the news story was about how he had made that a success because he had built such a loyal group of audience members. I'm one of them. I support Tom through Patreon, and yeah, it's something like $11,000 a month. Not
Yeah.
a lot of which goes into not it's not just like it's not Tom getting 11 grand a month,
Yeah.
because there's also a producer for the show and there are other things that take in consideration. But it's a
Bandwidth,
great
servers, producers, they're expensive.
yeah it's it's a great success story too, though. I mean, it was really encouraging to see this kind of patron model at work. And obviously, it's the sort of thing that's not going to work for everybody right out of the gate. For instance, Iyaz and Eric and I have talked about having a Patreon where we pay the audience to watch our show, but none of us can afford it. So
Yeah.
we had to
It's hard to
dismiss
it's
that.
hard to crowdsource, just with three people. Like,
Yeah, it's not so much a crowdsource. It's kind of like a trio source.
yeah.
Or, yeah, it's not.
I'm still totally willing to do it. We should crowdsource an open bucket fund, and
Yeah.
then people can donate to that, and then we'll find other users to pay them to listen. I could work this out.
What we need to do is start a Patreon where our members can all put forth money on a monthly basis, and we redistribute that money, and everyone gets exactly what they put in. But it's technically someone else's dollar.
Right. So
And
ultimately we're just money laundering.
I was thinking of the redistribution of wealth, but only on
Sure,
a literal basis. we are literally redistributing the wealth exactly where it went, where it came from, and except I'm sure that Patreon has to take a cut somewhere, so someone's getting shafted. We would
That's
have to
true.
make up the we'd have to make up the difference. It'd be terrible. So we'll just knock that off on the brilliant ideas list. So
Well,
Ayaz and I had. Oh, go ahead.
no, no, I'm just gonna say, like, we should start that, and we'll just call it the worst Ponzi scheme ever podcast.
You know,
It's
we
like
got
we're at the top of the scheme, but we're still losing money.
we got all of an episode and a half into it before all the funds dried up. We had to sell our webcams and microphones. Yeah, that would probably not go so well. So Ayaz and I had a little exchange on Hangouts earlier today, which I thought I would bring up as a question to you, Eric, because I was talking to him about how one of the conversations you and I could possibly have is how fucked up is my home state? But then he was saying, "Do you mean Maryland?" And I said, "Oh no, I was thinking, New Mexico." But then that also brought up the question: when do you call the place you live your home? Do you always refer to the place where you grew up as your home? What's your perspective on that?
You know, I mean, if I'm not in New Mexico and somebody asks me now where, if it depends how they phrase the question, I guess. If they ask where I'm from, I will say, Maryland. If
Sure.
they ask where do I live in Albuquerque.
But if you
I
when you think of the word home, what do you think?
I mean, I've been here long enough that I don't know. When I think of home, I don't think of Albuquerque. So
Interesting. So Ayaz had a theory on how long you had to be in a place before you would call it home, and his was a pretty hard and fast rule, which was 3 years. Don't know how he came up with that, but he said 3 years. After 3 years, you can call a place home.
3 years is
So
pretty short. Like, I don't know. The way I see it, 3 years seems pretty short, I guess.
well, you live a nomadic lifestyle with your life entirely packed upon your back. You
Oh,
could
yeah, right.
you ride the rails. The wind takes you where you need to go.
It's
Uh,
true. I do
I,
work
however,
remote, so no office is home to me anymore.
that's true. Well, no office would have you either,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
yeah, I've lived in Atlanta for almost 20 years now. So we're talking like half my life I have lived in this city, or at least in metro Atlanta. In the actual city, I've only lived here like a couple of years. But in the metro Atlanta area, I've lived here for nearly half my life. And that to me means I just call it home. I've always lived in Georgia, however, so that makes it easier. I could just call Georgia my
Yeah.
home, and I've never lived anywhere else. So it's a little different. Ayaz, of course, is hopping all over the place.
All over the
Vermont,
place being two places, really. He's hopped back and
Vermont,
forth.
Vermont, New York, and California, and then back to New York.
Yeah.
So there's a few places. Yeah. He'll be back in New York, I think, this weekend. So
I think that's what he
that's
said,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually planning a possible trip to New York as part of my birthday celebration. Um,
I
and I
saw that I
hope
was invited to go see a movie with you.
you are, Eric. You are invited to come see a movie with me. I doubt you're going to make the trip out to Atlanta to go to a Thursday evening movie
Yeah.
at the Fabulous Fox Theater, but I wanted to make you an offer. It looks like my video's frozen, but I wanted to make you an offer to come and join me and my friends. I think it's only going to be 3 or 4 of them at the moment, but yeah, I've got some plans to go see Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade at the Fabulous Fox Theater, which is an old theater house here in Atlanta. It's got a very Arabic kind of design to it. Pretty cool, but it's and they even do things like a sing along. They do
Wait, they do
they
a
do
sing along to Indiana Jones?
not to the movie, but
Oh.
and I'm gonna see if I can turn off my video and turn it back on, see if that'll help. But they it's not to the film. It's rather before the movie starts, they'll do a sing along. They actually have a big pipe organ in this theater, and it's on an elevator that can rise up out of the stage. and the organist plays songs, and some of them are just instrumentals from various movies usually, because this is all part of the movie summer movie program when they're not running live shows. And then after that, they'll play a few sing-alongs, and it's usually old songs, things like "Let Me Call You Sweetheart," that kind of stuff, or
Mm-hmm.
"Daisy." And then after that, they'll usually show a cartoon and then some previews, and then they show the movie. So it's kind of like the old movie theater experience, and it's a lot of fun when you're with a group of folks. And if the theater is full, it's just a blast. So we're gonna go see that on my birthday. I do think of Last Crusade as the least of the good trilogy of Indiana Jones films. I don't know. It might be neck and neck with Temple of Doom. What's your view
Uh,
on the Indiana Jones movies?
Wait, so how did you phrase that? The
I think of it as the least of the original trilogy. I don't even give Kingdom of the Crystal Skull any notice at all. It was a terrible movie.
yeah.
Or
Um, sorry about that. I auto playing things. Um, no, I mean, I like the Last Crusade. I guess I like the Last Crusade more than I like the Temple of Doom.
yeah,
So, yeah,
I can see that. I mean, it goes back and forth for me. I mean, Temple of Doom certainly was the most gloomy of the movies, but and Last Crusade got very cartoony, right? I mean, very kind of silly, and making the character, a lot of the characters, more comic relief than they had been in previous films, which is what I know a lot of Indiana Jones purists hate that about the movies. They much prefer the pulpy version of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I can understand, but frankly, I look at each movie as being its own entity because they're all so very different in tone and even
yeah,
characterization. But
yeah.
anyway, I'm looking forward to the experience. I've gotten to a point where I debated on even doing anything at all, because I mean, it's not a particularly special birthday. Um, I don't want any presents, so I think this will be something that can be fun. No one has to talk to me because we've got a movie going, so they can actually enjoy the film and pretend like they're there for me. So I think it works out for everybody. Okay, let's pick one of these movies that's really terrible for Iyaz to watch.
So I've got one called A Talking Cat exclamation point question mark exclamation point.
A talking cat. Is
Yeah.
that what I'm hearing in the background?
It is. He's really mad. He wants to go outside.
Yeah. I specifically locked myself away from my dog. Where shoot, I'm not logged into Netflix, so I can't look at this thing. Um, where's the stupid login for this now? This is the problem. I've got a new computer. One of the nice things about the change in my company's ownership is that we all got new computers, which are really really nice. They're not like super fancy computers, but they're so much faster than our old
Mhm.
ones. It's gotten to the point where I actually, like, before I would start booting up, and I would leave my computer booting, go make coffee. I would go do whatever I needed to do, and then I would come back and still wait for a while before I could actually work on my
Yeah.
computer. This one, as soon as I turn it on, it prompts me to log into Dashlane, Spotify, and Skype both load up automatically, and it's already going before I can even stand up out of my chair. So it's nice,
Yeah,
except it means that I keep forgetting to get coffee.
the first time I got uh, a new MacBook Pro with a solid state drive in it, I did like a speed test on the drive,
Yeah,
just the right, and I was like, how did we live with physical platters spinning around?
I know, right? So much.
Like,
It's so much faster and so much quieter.
yep.
Yeah. All right,
And
come
like
on.
you'd
What?
get to that point where you'd never want to restart your machine because you knew it was going to take you 20 minutes to get back to
Yeah,
work. And now
exactly.
I'm just
Yeah,
like, oh, whatever, reboot. All right, let's go.
Yeah, you get messages saying like updates are installing, reboot. Like remind me in
Yeah.
4 hours. 4 hours later, remind me in another 4 hours.
Right.
Okay, you said it was talking cat, right? Talking cat exclamation point question mark exclamation point. Oh, this looks bad. Um, However, the average is 3.3 stars.
Yeah, I'm getting a 2.5.
I've got a 2.2. But all right, I don't think Iyaz likes cats, does he?
I
This
don't think he does. I don't
this
believe
might
he has a cat.
this might be oh, this is awesome though. Okay, wait, no, I've got to read this review. I've been a member since Netflix began, but this was the first time I was moved to actually write about a film. A Talking Cat is a roller coaster of emotional exposition and insight that opened me up like no film I've ever seen. Keep your Bergman, Kurosawa, and Fellini, and please just give me Duffy the Talking Cat. Never has middle class suburbia Americana been displayed in a way that shakes off the veneer and peels away the fabric of what it truly means to be American. I felt vulnerable, I felt exposed, but most of all, I finally just felt something. 5 stars. Okay, no, we have to do this to Iyaz now.
The problem is I actually kind of want to watch this.
Do you want to pick one that you absolutely do not want to watch?
I can't think
I,
of one that I don't.
okay, wait. So I just read that one review. Here's the way the next review starts. That's not the right cat on the cover. And also, when they are supposedly using a scanner to upload their wardrobe, it's actually a booklight. However, I like the creepy old man in a bathroom aspect of the cat's voice. 5 stars. Okay, well, maybe. God, Eric, I was kind of thinking of this as an opportunity for us to take a week off from watching terrible movies and just make Iyaz do it.
That's okay. We can find something else and just save this one for later.
All right. I was all excited, but yeah, we'll have to do that because this does sound like it's kind of a train wreck that I want to. I don't know that I want to see it, but I kind of don't want to not see it.
Right.
All right, so let's see here. We are going to browse. Let's see, faith and spirituality. That would go over well. Trying to think of what would be sports movies. Well, we could say that we picked a sports movie in honor of the World Cup.
That's
Are you
true.
watching that, by the way, at all? Are you into the football?
I've been watching it for two reasons. VidPresso is running some of Univision Deportes graphics, and because the co-working space I have has a nice projector that's just running it all day. So I've kind of been roped into watching it.
We've got a large screen television that's mounted in the editorial department because, of course, when you're writing and editing articles, there's nothing better than to have sports playing on in the background with the volume on sometimes. Wait a minute. Here we go. How about Flying Devils? A family of aerialists decide to go after the $250,000 prize being offered to any group that can execute a next to impossible trapeze maneuver.
Oh, this looks fantastic. 1985, not rated. Wait, is this subtitled?
111 minutes. That would make it even better.
It's Danish, but the audio is in English. So, all right.
Oh, so dubbed.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got to pick this one then. Here's there's only one review for this one, sadly, but in order to be fair, I'll go ahead and read this review so that we can compare it to Duffy the Talking Cat. This is a stupid flying trapeze European ultra low budget movie, even for 1985. Wow, that is a hell of a review right there.
Because there were so many of those.
Do you remember 1985? I mean, that was a fucking banner year for low budget European stupid trapeze movies. All right, the review continues. The type of movie American filmmakers, even amateurs, in this film, Some old Italian family
Yeah.
of trapeze artists that should have sought a more lucrative form of income have to prove that they can perform a quadruple somersault while on the side. The father is an old tyrant, tethering them to a dying circus lifestyle instead of retiring and sending them to school to do something else with their lives. Maury, not his son, finally pulls off the quad, but the wow, spoiler, but the aloof and hateful circus owner misses it. However, the 8 or 10 other people who were in attendance did see it, but then Maury elopes with a beautiful Italian journalist to the magical land of America, guaranteed to depress the whole family. Yeah, we're gonna make Iyaz watch this, I think.
No, that sounds good. I'm definitely for that.
All right, so Iyaz will have to watch Flying Devils. Of course, we'll watch. We're gonna end up with like a ton of new viewers next week because of his visit to Night Attack, and then we're gonna be like,
And then we'll
they're gonna
put him
be,
on the spot. It'll be fantastic.
and they'll see what enormous assholes we are. All right, but we'll let them know. Flying Devils is the movie for us for next week that Eric and I will somehow manage to not watch. Fantastic. What? Here's the weird part. This is one of the few instances where the guess for me is higher than the average rating.
No, same here. Oh wait. Yep, so is mine. Average 1.9. My guess is 2.1.
My guess is 2. So apparently we're more forgiving of, those 1985
Yeah.
ultra low budget European flying trapeze movies. I remember when Kenneth Branagh starred in that ultra low budget 1985 European flying trapeze movie, and he really knocked it out of the park.
What?
I think it was called Henry V. All right, so you've watched a little bit of. Did you watch the United States and their amazing comeback against Ghana? I missed it, although I saw all the reaction on Twitter. I actually said this on Twitter and on Facebook, and I really do mean it. I wish I liked soccer so I could take part in the excitement that surrounds the whole World Cup, but I don't, and I don't feel right. Like, I'm not the type to jump on a bandwagon, even if I'm not really excited about whatever the thing is. And I'm not saying other people are doing that. I think they're genuinely interested in what happens. I just can't do it. It's just not worth it. Whatever.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work for me.
I mean, I kind of agree with you, especially because, it's kind of funny when they started the game and they put it up in the projector where I'm working, and I and one of the other the guy sitting next to me who's a developer, we're just like, wait, so he looks over at me, he goes, wait, so is soccer the one where they flip a coin, or do they just drop the ball in the middle? How does that all get sorted out? And of course, like 2 minutes later, we're on Wikipedia, and both of us are like, right, that's how this works.
See, that's kind of how I was. I actually went to Wikipedia to look up how the hell offsides works, or
Right.
offside. And I actually looked it up, and after reading it, I'm still not sure what the hell is going on, or what the point is. I mean, even the explanation was so ridiculous, just to say, like, if the attacking team, the leading most player, is further into the field than the second most defending player, and the ball gets kicked to him, it's offside. Like, you can be offside but not be playing offside, but then once the ball gets to you, then you're playing offside. And the whole time I'm thinking, what's the problem? Like, where's the issue here? What is the? I mean, I guess that it would just encourage people to kick the shit out of the ball and have people just standing next to the net for the whole fucking game. I guess that's the problem.
I believe that is the problem there.
Okay. I mean,
listen.
I guess that would make.
You're asking to explain the theory of sports. There's really no good answer for why the rules exist.
Well, I mean, I suppose it could somehow make soccer even less interesting if it happened that way. All right, no, but I mean, to be fair, there are people who are very passionate about the sport. Obviously, they love what they love, and they should love what they love. I'm not gonna criticize anyone for embracing their love of any given thing, assuming it's not, hurting someone else, obviously. So I don't get it, but that doesn't mean that I, condemn it. It just doesn't, I don't have that gene.
Yeah.
So
when I go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say when I lived in or when I was working in DC, I had to work the soccer games at the stadium there. I worked at RFK for a while, and the only thing I really remember that is being of that is being backstage after the games and seeing the soccer players leave, and they always had perfectly manicured hair after the game, and like the nicest little bags to carry their cleats in. They all had these like really fancy bags to carry their cleats in as they walked to the car. It was kind of surreal, honestly, but
Interesting. I like to tell this story. My wife, during the 1996 Olympics, we weren't married yet. She was working up in DC. She was working for an airline. And my wife also speaks, or used to speak, fluent French. She hasn't had an opportunity to speak in French in a long time. So a lot of that has faded from her memory because my French is terrible. So I can't speak with her, and she hasn't been in practice. But at the time, she spoke fluent French. And because she was working at the airport, she saw a lot of the Olympic teams go through. They would fly into DC and either fly down to Atlanta, or in some cases, they were actually competing in preliminary games in DC, which would determine who got to go to Atlanta, specifically for soccer. So a lot of the early soccer matches were actually played in DC, and the teams that won were able to go on to Atlanta to play in 90-degree heat and 100% humidity. So I don't know who won out on that one. But anyway, the story I want to tell is that the Algerian soccer team was coming through, and their primary language is French, not English, and they were trying to navigate to get to the gate and everything, and then they were at the ticket counter, and so Becca, my wife, went up to talk to them because she speaks French and could actually help facilitate this, and in the process, because they were meeting a cute girl who could speak French, the Algerian Olympic soccer team hit on my wife. So my wife has been hit on not by an Olympic athlete, but by a team of Olympic athletes.
A score of Olympic athletes.
Yeah. And she still chose me. So yeah, there's some.
Well, it's got to say, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it as a compliment, because otherwise it's suggesting that my wife is somehow crazy. Also this week in the news, I've been bursting dreams all week long. I feel like anyway.
Are you talking about your the solar roadway thing you wrote for Forward Thinking?
Solar roadway was a big one. Yeah. Did you see the video for the project, the Indiegogo project for solar?
It was hilarious. I put off watching that video for a solid 24 hours as it made its way, through every social media channel, beating me in the face.
Right.
And then finally I watched it. And I think my girlfriend was sitting next to me at the time. And like halfway through it, I was like, okay, no. Like this is cool as hell, but no.
Yeah, when I watched it, my first reaction was, what an interesting idea. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I wonder how they're going to address this major challenge. And then
that was pretty much like the entire time I'm sitting there going, the one thing that got to me was I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait, they're putting microprocessors or at least systems on a chip in all of these devices.
Right.
So you're probably using rare earth metals in every single one of those tiny little panels.
You're using it already because solar panels require rare earth metals in them,
right.
Rare earth minerals. So yeah. So okay. Well, first of all, solar panel technology in general is not clean in the sense of a perfect clean energy. The energy is clean. The sun
You
power
still
you're
have to
getting is
refine
clean.
the silicone and
Yeah. The actual materials you're using to make the solar panels, that's not a carbon-free process, and it can create some pretty nasty greenhouse gases. And just getting the stuff you need, the raw materials you need, depending upon where you're getting it from. And let's be honest, for rare earth minerals, we're talking China. That's your primary source. They could be coming from mines that are using some pretty nasty methods to get at those rare earth minerals, which mean that, somewhere along the line, things are not good from an environmental perspective. Now, once you're generating the electricity, you're in pretty good shape. I mean, that's fine. You're not creating more greenhouse gases, nor are you, as one satirical news source mentioned, you are not actually drawing energy out of the sun, thus extinguishing the sun's energy over time.
right.
There's actually a satire news source that said that, which I thought was funny. Some people took it seriously, but even after all that, there's a lot of concern about how do you make this work. Like you said, you got the microprocessors. You have to make sure that they're nestled in such a way that they're going to take the wear and tear of having enormous pressure put on them repeatedly. Because even if you have a really strong protective layer of glass on top of this thing, that pressure doesn't just magically disperse through the glass, right? I mean, it goes through this panel and then into the ground. So there's that. There's the fact that we don't know how much an individual panel is going to be. By the way, if you don't know what we're talking about, Solar Roadways is this proposal that this husband and wife team came up with of using these hexagonal solar panels with textured, tempered glass protecting them to replace roadways, to literally tear up the roads of the United States and replace them with these solar panels. And then hypothetically, according to their claims, the solar panels would generate 3 times more electricity than what we currently use in the U.S.
And so it got funded on Kickstarter, right?
Or Indiegogo, one of the two.
Yeah.
It made twice as much as what they were asking for, I think.
Right.
And it's a very, I mean, it's a lofty and admirable goal, right? It's an environmentally friendly way to try and generate electricity and also make a smart road system. These are things that I think are cool, but the challenges are so huge. I mean, you're talking 25,000 square miles of road.
Right.
Just tearing that up all by itself would take years.
And the interesting thing, like one of the quick points that I read around too was the interesting thing about doing it for something like a parking lot actually is kind of like parts of it don't make sense, because during the time that the sun is at its peak during the day, a parking lot generally has cars sitting on top of it.
Right. So you're automatically reducing the efficiency because you're covering up the solar panels. Right.
Yep.
The solar panel peak efficiency, by the way, is 15%, which means that 85% of the energy hitting it is not being captured. This is not unusual. Solar panels typically don't get very good efficiency.
You can do a lot better than 15% at this point, though, can't you? Pretty sure.
Well, for commercial solar panels, you can get up to maybe 20 or 25 under ideal conditions. If you're using bleeding edge solar panels like the way the space programs use, you're talking 44%. If you want to talk about the ultimate, like as efficient as you can possibly get, you peak out at 86%, just under 87. And then you run into entropy issues. And by the way, that 87% is only under ideal conditions that are impossible to achieve, where you have an infinite number of perfect solar panels. So we're never going to get really much higher than where we are now. I mean, not measurably necessarily, but that doesn't really matter if you're able to cover a shit ton of area, right? So if you're able to cover 25,000 square miles of area with solar panels, even if they're 15% efficient, then under ideal situation where you're getting sun, regularly, you're still going to generate a lot of electricity. But let's say that somehow that works. Like somehow they're able to rip up all the road and replace all the road with solar panels, which I don't think is possible. If it were possible, it would take decades to do to replace all that, and more money than I can imagine, because not just for the materials but for the labor. All right, but assuming that we were able to do all that, how do you transmit the power? How do you transmit the electricity
Right.
that you're
Not all
generating?
grids accept power anyway.
And even if they did, you'd have to have some form of transmission system and infrastructure to
Hmm.
actually be able to carry the electricity. You know, most solar panels are connected to batteries. So you could have battery packs all along the road, but that adds to the infrastructure. You got to figure out where you're putting the batteries. Um, Otherwise, you know, you wouldn't be able to operate at night. So, you know, they're the way they were talking, it sounded like it was a big interconnected system, as if the United States has a unified power grid, but we don't.
Right.
And that it was a smart grid. It's not. Um, I mean, I wish that it would work. I just can't see it working. So yeah, I crushed those dreams, and then there was not. I mean, I didn't crush those dreams. People still dream about this, and a lot of people are supporting it. But I spoke out my skepticism, and who knows? Maybe they come up with answers that answer all the skeptical points I make, and I hope they do. I mean, I would love to see it succeed. I would love to be surprised. But then I did the same thing for a couple of other promising
What?
technologies. So I feel like I'm dream crusher right now, you know? But the point I was trying to make with people was that uh, I do have an optimistic view of the future, but I pair it with skepticism and critical thinking, because if you don't have that and you go in with blind optimism, you're going to get hit by obstacles you didn't see or anticipate or acknowledge, and that has the potential to knock you off track. If you are alert and you say, "Hey, this is an actual challenge," then you can find a way to meet that challenge or get around it. But you know, so that's my my view of the future, is that you need to pair optimism with skepticism, and then you're in good
Yeah.
shape. Which is weird because, you know, I'm a member of Generation X. You know, we were known as the pessimists, but I think deep down inside the soul of most Generation Xers, there's a romantic, an optimist there, but they surrounded themselves with a pessimistic, kind of sarcastic personality to protect themselves. This is a pet armchair psychology theory that I'm using to generalize an entire generation. So what's your generation like, Eric? You youngster?
Um, I don't know. Like, that's a weird question. I mean, I hang around a very like select group of people because I work at a co-working space where pretty much everybody's a programmer. So pretty much everybody's skeptical, analytical, and scientific in the way that they think.
Yeah.
So when I meet people who aren't that way, I just kind of ignore them after a while.
Interesting. So that's I have a similar issue in that my friends, the people that I hang out with, are all very creative and intelligent and talented folks. So when I occasionally encounter someone who's not in my circle of friends who doesn't fall into one of those categories, it's like culture shock to me, because I forget that there are people who don't necessarily meet those criteria. But most of, like, everyone I work with is incredibly sharp. Like I work hard to keep up with them. So, uh, like if I ever have to go someplace where I encounter the opposite of that, it's really surprising to me.
Right.
Particularly if they're in my same age group, that really throws me for a loop. Meanwhile, checking in with Night Attack, I see that Iyaz is in the same physical space as Justin Robert Young.
Yeah.
Um, he looks at the moment to be a little disheartened. I think right now he's missing us. But that's okay, because after we inflict the Flying Devils movie on him, he will no longer feel anything but contempt. So don't worry. But yeah, it's we miss Iyaz. We wish he were here to interject his humor and his disdain, but he will have to just wait.
Yeah, it'll be okay. He'll have to watch a
Yeah.
crappy movie and then describe it to us at length.
Yep. Yeah. And we'll probably watch it on some form of
I was
transportation.
I was gonna
Actually, at
say
that
he's
point, he'll be in
moving.
New
There's
York.
like he has
Yeah.
zero excuse. He's gonna be on a
Yeah.
plane for yeah.
That's true. You're going to be on a plane for 6 hours. You might as well watch yourself a terrible, terrible movie.
Yep.
This will be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what his reaction is. All right. Well, what about you, Eric? Anything else going on in your world that you want to discuss? I mean, the only other thing I can talk about is the fact that I became an uncle this week, which was exciting for me. Yeah. It's my first time being an uncle. My parents are now grandparents. They are absolutely thrilled. And my niece Alora is absolutely adorable. But yeah, that's the only other thing. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
happy
I
story.
mean, I don't have that much. It seems like that time of year that everybody's having babies though. I have about 3 people that I know who have either just had a baby or going to have one in like a day. So
Wow. Yeah,
I don't have much to say. I told you I got ordained in the Church of Dudism.
Yes, I heard that you became a dude
and
priest.
I actually got the certificate of good standing because I'm marrying, my sister and her fiance in Colorado in August. And so most states you have to have like a certificate of good standing or something like that. So I paid the extra $20 to get it. But turns out Colorado is pretty laid back. You can just say, "Hey, yeah, sure, I'll sign a document," and that's it. So I didn't need it, but it came with sweet patches and a dude fish for my car. So it was worth it.
That's really crazy laid back.
Yeah, no, they require literally nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this was Colorado, you said?
Yeah, it's in Colorado.
They haven't had the medicinal use of marijuana in effect that long, have they?
It's no longer medicinal use. It's
right.
legal
it's recreational.
for recreational use. Yeah.
Wow.
Since the first of the year, I think.
Now I could just imagine walking into a government office and saying, like, "Yeah, I came in here to fill in some paperwork." Like, whatever, man.
Yeah.
It's just you're going too fast, man. Just slow down. That's too funny. Well, congratulations on your epic win as becoming an ordained minister in the what was it?
I am now a dudeist priest.
Dudeist priest. That's awesome. Dudeist priest, that's a great one.
Dudeist priest. When I heard that, I was like, nope, I'm doing it. It's done.
Sign me up. Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. I've got a lot of friends who became ministers through the internet. I think I did technically I became one. I have no idea where my certificate is. But I've got friends who have conducted marriage ceremonies here in Georgia, and they take it. Well, they take the duty of being a minister during a wedding very seriously, because usually they are friends with either the bride or the groom or both. So I know that they take that seriously. I'm not so sure about any other aspect of their ordainment. But yeah, but that's cool. It's a neat thing, and it'll be a neat experience. I want to become like the opposite. I want to be like the guy who conducts divorces, but in a really kind of like a reverse wedding. Or no. No, I want to make a new position, like a reverse wedding.
Yeah.
Where
those are like popular things. There's a big like modern culture article about the divorce party movement the other day.
Well,
I wish I could say something about it, but I didn't read it.
all the people I've encountered who have had to go through the divorce process have a very similar attitude, which is that they definitely don't want to hear you say, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Mostly because they most of them have heard that like a billion times through telling everyone they know what's going on. And so, yeah, I try and get to the point now where I don't say I'm sorry. I don't respond with anything at all because I'm like, I honestly don't know what's the socially acceptable response that isn't going to make a stressful experience even more so. So I will just
Yeah.
endure what you were telling me, and we'll just go on from there. It's the mark of true friendship.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, I think we can start wrapping this up. We've had a decent discussion. Iyaz free. We will look forward to having him on the next show, which may or may not be next week.
Maybe. We're all feeling up to it.
Yeah, we certainly can't predict when we'll record this at this point. We did do 2 weeks in a row, so that's something, right? Or did you guys record the week before too? So this is technically the third week in a row. So we're on a streak. We're officially on a streak. So congratulations, Eric.
Why, thank you. Congratulations to you as well.
More so to you. You've been on all 3 episodes.
That's true.
All right. Well, then we're going to wrap this up, which I guess means we should look into the future. So next week on Podcast Without Pretense.
That was probably the worst summary I've ever heard of a movie. Like, you didn't even watch it, did you?
You know, I thought Flying Devils was awesome. I give it 5 out of 5 stars, and that's all I have to say about it.